Cool. Hi everyone. As you tune in, I'm just gonna talk until Rosie joins us from Deakin and Blue. She's today's guest, so she's the founder of Deakin and Blue, which is the sustainable swimwear company we've been talking about on our social medias. So yeah, we're going to be talking about sustainable fashion and a few different things, just running through the questions that have been sent through. In case you guys don't know, I'm doing this from Mozambique, so this is potentially not got the best internet connection. So what's happened? Hannah, our social media girl, on WhatsApp, and she's filming the phone. So if I drop out, the live will still go. So just stay tuned, and I'll be back online as soon as I can.
You have Rosie.
Yay! Hi Rosie, how are you doing?
Hello. I'm well. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. I was just explaining to people that are tuning in the tricky internet situation that we have here. Yeah, if I drop out, then Hannah's going to do some stand-up comedy. Yeah, so for our followers that are tuning in now, do you want to kind of explain a bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, of course. So hello, I'm Rosie. I'm Rosie Cook. I'm the founder of what I describe as a transformational women's swimwear brand called Deakin and Blue. And our products are transformational in how they're made, how they look, how they feel, everything from the kind of production processes used to how we market them, the way that we talk about them, and so on. And I set the business up 3 years ago when I couldn't find a swimsuit for my weekly swim, and felt that there was a bigger gap in the market out there that needed addressing. And we've been trading 3 years. We're on a big growth trajectory at the moment, which is really exciting. We've partnered with Love the Oceans a few times, which has been great to sort of raise awareness of marine conservation activity. And I guess a big part of our brand ethos is operating sustainably. So all our products are made from ocean waste. And so that's the partnership has felt really sort of brand aligned in that way. So that's a brief intro. Does that sort of give you a flavour?
Yeah. So for your followers that might be tuning in now and don't know what Love the Ocean does, I'm just going to run through what we do. So yeah, they know who I am.
Yeah.
So I'm the founder of Love the Oceans. So as Rosie said, we're a marine conservation charity. So we work in Mozambique and we do a bunch of different research. So we do fisheries, humpback whales, coral reefs, ocean trash, megafauna, and then we do 2 community outreach projects as well. So the ocean trash is obviously what kind of links Deakin and Blue and Love the Oceans closely. So me and Rosie, we met how many years ago now? 2 or 3?
I think 3. I think 3 years ago. We just launched, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are brand new, and we were still pretty new. I think we're both kind of new kids on the block. Yeah, we met at a trade show and just got chatting, and then we did some campaigns together, and yeah, now we're here. So yeah, basically Love the Oceans is running this Q&A series where we're inviting professionals from different industries, all kind of coming in together and talking about sustainability, conservation, all of that kind of aspect, but bringing their own kind of angle to it. So before we get started, do you want to say anything? I've got a bunch of questions, so we can just dive into them if you want.
Great. Sounds great to me.
Okay. Perfect. So first of all, you've already kind of said this at the beginning, but how did you get into this line of work?
Yeah, good question. Because my background actually isn't fashion or manufacturing or swimwear, and I'm not even an especially accomplished swimmer. So people are often surprised by this answer. But about 4 years ago, I started swimming for exercise and went to buy a swimsuit for my weekly swim. And although I'm slim, I'm curvy. And so I had a real issue finding swimwear that sort of fitted amazingly and did everything I needed it to do. And I was basically looking for something that combined kind of style. I wanted to look and feel great in it. It needed some substance. It needed to hold my boobs in place, to not give me a wedgie as I moved, to not chafe as I made my arm rotations. And I wanted it to be sustainable. and I just couldn't find anything out there. And I felt at the time that the market was kind of divided into these two camps, that there was swimwear that you could put on and you'd feel amazing in it. It was very beautiful, quite often quite skimpy, but very beautiful and stylish. And it was great for kind of ordering cocktails or reading a book, but try and move in it and it would all go very wrong. And at the other end of the spectrum was kind of sports, really sporty swimwear. You know, think more like your classic kind of Speedo shapes, which is fantastic if you've got the body of an athlete, but, you know, obviously lots of women don't have that physique. And actually it looked, you know, lots of the swimsuits in that kind of sporty sector looked a lot like products that I've worn when I was sort of 11 or 12. And of course, my body had changed a lot since then. So what I was looking for, felt like it really didn't exist. And so at the time I made something for myself. I tacked a sports bra into a high street swimsuit and adjusted the leg height because I hated how high the swimsuits cut. But then I started researching it, and you know, initially I did that thing that I think lots of women do, where you think, oh, it's my body, it's my issue. But then I started doing some research and realised that actually 1 in 2 mums don't take their children to learn to swim because of body image concerns. 500,000 women have given up swimming in the last 10 years because of the thought of putting on a swimsuit. And I realised that actually there was this really big problem here, that we weren't creating products that women felt amazing in. And learning to swim, it's a life skill, right? People still die from drowning every day. It's not like learning to play tennis or golf. So I just had this real sense of sort of purpose that I wanted to solve this problem, and set out to do that. And that was about 4 years ago, and we launched about 6 months after I first started working on it. So I came at it from a kind of business background, as a consumer that had the problem myself. But in a way, I think that really armed me to ask stupid questions and start from the bottom and go out and really sort of tear up the rule book and start from scratch. So that's our journey, I suppose.
Yeah, it's very inspirational. I know that like we love the Deakin and Blue costumes here because it's exactly like you said. Like, I think I used to do a lot of swimming when I was quite a bit younger, but as I got older, it was still active in the water, but more like diving or surfing rather than like swimming lengths or anything like that. But it became, I found exactly the same. Like, it was difficult to find something that you felt good in and that was practical. Often, I think we felt that, well, I don't know, I felt that like a lot of swim costumes were made by men for women, half the time, which weren't like practical, and as you said, like look great, but as soon as you try and do anything, like I think, yeah, as soon as you try and do anything, any activities, then they're less useful.
And I mean, I think if you even look at the way that swimwear is marketed, you know, often in swimwear adverts, men are surfing the waves and women are laying sedately on a beach. I mean, it's almost like the entire thinking behind how swimwear has been designed is for women to look pretty rather than, God forbid, do some proper swimming in it. So I so agree with you. I've often thought it's been sort of designed by men or with male gaze as like a massive part of what informs what it looks like, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. That's been one of our biggest draws to Deakin and Blue. But obviously, the other big draw is your sustainability policy. So one of the questions here is, what are the steps that Deakin and Blue have taken to be a more sustainable brand? Do you want to explain a bit more around what your sustainability policy is, and like how you kind of came about that and created that?
Yeah, sure. So I think for me, being sustainable is about saying that you're going to make a product or provide a service or do something that meets the needs of today without using up the resources of tomorrow, effectively. And for me, lots of businesses, when they try to be more sustainable, and lots are doing it at the moment, you can kind of look at every part of your value chain or your business processes and think production, warehousing, packaging, we can make each bit sort of 10% more sustainable. And that's a great thing to do. But actually, for me, sort of more fundamentally is how can we create a business that is really sustainable? And that is about saying, if we make a really good product that people really love, that they love wearing it, they want to repair it, they want to look after it, they want to wear it again and again and again, then that's actually the most sustainable product you can create, because rather than someone feeling that every 3 months it falls to pieces or it needs replacing because there's a new trend they want to buy into, actually what you've done is create something that is designed to last long term. So that's the kind of fundamental principle that underpins everything we do, making a really good product that women feel incredible in, and they'll want to look after it, they'll want to have it repaired, and so on. Once we've got that nailed, we then look at every part of the business. So we think about the fabrics we use. All of our fabric is made from a regenerated yarn made from ocean waste. It's called Eco Nile. Lots of swimwear brands use it. It's gained real traction in the last few years. And it's brilliant because rather than being a virgin nylon, it's literally a recycled nylon yarn, and it's got better qualities for being regenerated. So it's even more durable, more colour resistant, more resistant to oil, and so on. We look at things like our packaging. So we only use 100% recycled and recyclable packaging, soy-based inks, those kind of things. We partner with producers that dispose of chemicals safely. We think about the brand ambassadors that we use and the organisations like yourselves that we collaborate with. So, I mean, it underpins every part of the business, and, you know, the list is endless. And I think whenever we make a business decision, we think, you know, how is this impacting not just profit, but planet and people as well? And that's really fundamental to us. But I think, in a way, the real heart of running a sustainable business is creating a product that is made to last, that a customer loves and wants to look after, because that, you know, the most sustainable swimsuit you can buy is the one that's in your wardrobe that you're already in love with. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I think, like, I didn't even, like, so I've actually got 3 of your costumes. I love it. So, like, every Christmas birthday I have, I'm always like, because I spend so much of my time in a cozy. But I obviously was doing a little bit of research, a little bit more research about your brand and stuff for this. And I didn't even realise I haven't had to use it. And I think that speaks for the quality of the costume as well. But I didn't realise you guys do a repair service, because I just haven't had to need to repair it. But or had any problems with it. But that's really cool. That's very rare as well. I don't know many costume brands that do that. I've come across like shoe brands and stuff like that repair the soles, but actually repairing the costumes, that's really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, we're glad to do it, and I think it shows that we're committed to the quality of our product, and our products aren't cheap, so we want a customer to buy it knowing that they've got this guarantee of quality. But also, I think it just encourages a certain type of mentality around the product. The idea that if a seam goes or some stitching fades, we shouldn't just dispose of it. Actually, there's still life in that product. And, you know, it doesn't always make commercial sense to do those things. Sometimes it's cheaper to replace your swimsuit, but we would prefer to repair it, because if we're not paying the cost, then the planet probably is. So there's always a kind of trade-off there. But yeah, it's a service we've run for a long time, well, for just over a year now. And yeah, hopefully customers don't have to use it, but if they do, it's there.
Yeah, I think that's really good. I think it comes to the point where it's like an environmental responsibility, right? So, like, it might not make financial sense, like, in terms of it would be cheaper to replace the costume, but it's where you decide that the environmental cost is more than the financial cost. So it's great to see Deakin and Blue doing that. With the fashion industry generally, I don't know if maybe I live in a bubble, I probably do, where I surround myself with people that are also like sustainable minded and conservation minded. But what do you think about like the fashion industry generally with sustainability? Like, I feel like I've seen more brands taking sustainability more seriously, but equally I know that there are obviously still a lot of like fast fashion brands out there that are like just creating kind of and it's that consumer mindset, right, of like just buying stuff and then it breaks and then you throw it out. And not creating products that last or have sustainable policies attached to them. What are your thoughts on like the fashion industry as a whole?
I think this is getting a lot better, and I think it's partly consumer led. I think it's because consumers are becoming much more aware of the environmental impact of their purchasing decision. I mean, I think even if you went back 3 years ago, sustainability just wasn't a word that you would see in marketing for fashion brands. It wasn't seen as kind of a value that people needed to communicate to a consumer. And now, you know, H&M have a sustainable line, so it's obviously been picked up as something that is important. And I think on the whole that is a brilliant thing, because it's raising awareness, it's improving education around sustainability. And I think on the whole we're seeing really good strides of progress in terms of making better products and thinking about how our clothes are made and who makes them and so on. Clearly, as you rightly identify, there are brands that sort of use it for marketing, and if you dig beneath the surface there's not a lot more there. And I think the danger is that it's easy as a consumer to be duped into thinking that because something's called the conscious collection or whatever it's called, that it's good for the planet. And actually, of course, if it's a £4 t-shirt that if it's a £4 t-shirt that you don't need or don't like or don't want, and that you wear twice and then throw in the bin, actually how sustainable really is that entire sort of process? So I think it's double-edged. But I think, to answer your question, yes, I think consumers are becoming more aware, and I think the industry is in general becoming much better. I think regulation will ultimately come in that will force businesses to become to sort of have to report on this stuff more, on what they use, how they dispose of waste, where products are made. And I think that fundamentally will make the kind of biggest shift. And I often say to sort of fellow brand owners at the moment that whilst at the moment being sustainable is like a real USP and it's still something to talk about, I think we're maybe 5 years away from it being what I call a hygiene factor. So, you know, it's your base case, everybody is just expected to manufacture safely, to use regenerated fibres where they can, and it won't be your kind of point of difference. But at the moment, unfortunately, it still is, because lots of brands don't operate like that.
Yeah. Have you got any tips on like how to like dig below the surface, how to work out how sustainable a brand is? Do you have any like sites that you use to look up sustainability or anything like that?
Yeah, there are lots of sites out there that rate brands and rate brands based on their kind of credentials, and that can be anything from kind of the ethics of how something's made to the fabrics and fibres it uses and so on. There's a plethora, and I can share some links to those afterwards, definitely. But I think actually, if you dig beneath the surface of most sort of sustainable, honourable brands that are doing good things, they'll have information about it on their websites or on their social media. They'll be transparent about where their products are made and what they're made from. You can think about things like how you care for it as well. I mean, if something is dry clean only, then that obviously has quite a big impact on the planet every time it gets uses chemicals to clean it. So you can look at those kind of things on a care label when you're purchasing a product, as much as kind of what it's made of. But I think the key things are just really asking a question of a brand, either directly or by navigating their website to this kind of information, like, you know, where is this made and what's it made of? And if a brand's really transparent about that, then that's a great sign that they've got nothing to hide, if you like. I guess the only other thing I'd add to that is kind of the bigger fast fashion consumption model is obviously highly problematic in general, and even sort of all the best intentions in that ecosystem are quite problematic. So if a t-shirt or a pair of jeans or whatever it is, you know, look at the price of it, and remember that someone has sat at a sewing machine making that. Remember that the fabric costs a certain amount per meter. Perhaps it's got a zip, that will have a price. You know, if you're paying £3.50 for a t-shirt, you've got to ask yourself how much the man or woman that was sat at the machine was paid to produce that, and you know, and where it might have been produced and so on. So I think you can sort of dig into those details by thinking about price and just about your relationship with the product as well. Is this something you're going to own and love, or is it something that, you know, is bought in quite a disposable way?
Yeah, whether you really need it.
Yeah.
So you kind of already talked about this with the regulation side of things, which I don't know anything about the fashion industry, so I'm finding this incredibly interesting to learn all these new things. But what do you think what are the further steps that need to be taken in the fashion industry to move towards a more sustainable industry as a whole? Like, I guess the regulations would be a large part of that, right?
Yeah, and I think having to report on things like disposal of waste product. I mean, in the UK alone, 140 million pounds of clothing ends up in landfill every year. Brands dispose of huge amounts of waste stock. It's cheaper often to dispose of waste stock than to sell it at discount prices. And so I suppose reporting, enforced reporting on that kind of activity would help drive good behaviour, but also just encouraging brands to be transparent about where things are made and how. Those I think are really important. But I think some of it sits with consumers as well, and the kind of just, talking about that big fast fashion consumption model, that is unfortunately quite problematic. And I think until we change that consumer behavior, the idea that you buy something once, wear it once and dispose of it, it's all well and good brands doing all these good things, but if we continue to consume in that way, it sort of undermines the whole point, I think.
Yeah. Really interesting. And with this whole, with Deakin and Blue and your exposure to this kind of side of this whole industry, right? Has it made you change has it made an impact on your life and change your behavior, or change things in your life because of this kind of journey that you've been on?
I think definitely, yeah. I mean, I think running a small business has really opened my eyes to what happens behind the scenes and how a product is made. I mean, I just didn't know how a swimsuit was made. And I think it has really forced me to think about the supply chain and the people involved in the production of the things that I buy, both in kind of fashion and otherwise. So definitely, I try to shop independently and local and from brands that I know and trust. So it's definitely informed the way that I think about my own consumption behaviours. But also I think, and maybe some of this is getting a bit older as well, but I think buying things that I really love and then really looking after them, I've been really encouraged to do that, because now that I understand all the effort that goes into making a garment, I don't pretend to be perfect at this stuff, and I still make mistakes all the time, but definitely in my early 20s I was guilty of buying stuff, wearing it a few times, disposing of it, not really thinking about that. Now that I know how much thought, effort, energy, literally someone's time goes into making a product, I want to make sure that if I'm purchasing something, I absolutely love it. And that sometimes means I buy slightly more expensive things that I then look after and keep and wear time and time and time again.
Yeah, but that saves money, right? Ultimately, in the long run, instead of buying 20 t-shirts that all cost £4 or whatever, you're buying one or two that are more expensive, but they're going to last you a lot longer.
Yeah,
and it's exactly. The environment.
Exactly.
And then, kind of along those lines, do you have anywhere in particular that you love to shop? That is more sustainable? Do you have go-tos for shopping?
I mean, I have a handful of brands that I love and shop from time and time again. The shirt I'm wearing this evening actually is from a small independent brand called Wear Nothing Underneath, and I own 3 of their shirts because I know where they're made. They're made of beautiful fabrics. It's a small business that's really transparent about their supply chain. So I sort of have a selection of small independent brands that I love supporting, and I also love sort of knowing the journey behind the product. So that's kind of real draw for me. But then I would say I shop in a variety of places, and as I say, I think the big thing for me is buying things I really love. So I'm wearing a pair of Birkenstocks, which, and actually I don't know a lot about Birkenstock as a brand, and I should hold my hands up. I should know more, but I bought them 4 months ago, and I've worn them basically every day, and I plan to continue to wear them for the rest of the summer. And I think it's about, for me, it's partly about buying things that I have a real emotional commitment to and really want to look after and treat well, as much as buying things that are sort of marketed as a sustainable good, if you like. There are lots of great sustainable brands out there, but I think for me it's about managing my own consumption behaviour and patterns, as much as sort of supporting those small brands that are doing things in a really good way.
Yeah, I think I found, for me, like, I found that the smaller brands tend to have better policies when it comes to sustainability, but also ethics. I seem to find that, like, most brands that have some kind of ethics policy also have some kind of environmental policy. It seems to kind of go hand in hand quite a lot. That's something that you've noticed?
Yeah, I suppose, yeah, I think that's probably true. It's not something I have thought of in that way before, but I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I think if you're thinking about who's making something and how you're treating the people involved in that, then chances are you're also thinking about the impact on the environment, because the kind of people and planet thing tends to come together. So yes, I totally agree. I think those things often overlap. They certainly do at D&B. And when I think about brands I know that are doing really good sort of sustainable practices, whether it's your sort of Everlanes, Reformations, Birdsong, whoever they are, you know, on the most part they're addressing both of those things and thinking really considerately about both of those aspects. So yeah, I think they often overlap.
Yeah, I set myself a challenge this Christmas, the Christmas that's just been, to buy my family all sustainable gifts. Okay, they were mostly all sustainable. Some were more focused on, like, the ethics side of things, but that's kind of where I came across the whole concept of, like, most of the ones that had some kind of ethics policy, be it fair trade or whatever, anything like that, they also tended to have a sustainability policy that went alongside. So, like, I found this, and for our listeners, well, watchers, followers that are watching this, when this goes onto our story afterwards, I'll also post some of the brands and stuff that we've been talking about, and sites and stuff that Rosie's mentioned to help research this kind of stuff. But I found this, like, candle company that's made, let me get this right, so it's like this candle that's made in London by victims of domestic abuse, and I was looking more at, like, the social side of things, trying to support, it was like a social enterprise, so trying to support this social enterprise, but then the more I read about it, like, it was actually a vegan candle as well, that had, like, really awesome environmental policies associated with it. So yeah, I think there are places to look for stuff like that. I think I'm kind of the same as you. I have a few trusted brands, and now I kind of just shop there. Like, I don't think I've had any swimming costumes since I started with the other one. Yeah, like, I think, I can't remember the name of it. I kind of started looking into it through, I think it was, like, called, like, social responsibility supermarket or something like that. I'll look it up and I'll post it in our stories afterwards. But basically, they're all brands that all kind of take their ethics seriously, and you can, like, there's loads of different brands on there. So I looked up, like, I've got a baby cousin, so I looked up, like, baby's clothes, because I wanted to get something that had some kind of environmental or ethics policy around it. So yeah, I think there's so much more online. Like, I remember looking for a backpack that had any kind of, like, any kind of recycled material in it, or any kind of ethics policy around it. I would say about 6 years ago, I was looking, and I really struggled to find anything. Really, really, really struggled. And then that backpack, I wore through it. Like, I literally used it every single day for 6 years. And I was looking for another one, and that brand was great, but they're in America, and I didn't want the air miles associated with the backpack. So I was trying to kind of conquer that angle of things. And then I found Mad Lug, which is, like, my current, I have luggage from them for everything. And they give money to they give let me get this right, it's a bit like Tom's, the shoe brand. They give a backpack to a kid in a home for every backpack you buy. Then it's like that ethics side of things, and I think they had some kind of sustainability policy on their website as well. It wasn't as major as the ethics side of things, but it was still pretty cool. So yeah, I think there's like a lot more available. I think it is a growing industry, right? Like it's definitely becoming more prominent within the fashion industry, or at least from where I'm sitting, it looks that way.
It definitely is. It definitely is. And actually, I wonder if dreaded COVID-19 will help with that in a way, because I think it's sort of brought supply chains to the fore. You know, lots of brands, big and small, are having to talk about their supply chains being impacted at the moment, maybe because their production studio has closed, or their distributing warehouse is being impacted. And it's kind of reminding us as consumers that when we buy a product, there's this whole network of people and organizations behind it that contribute to getting that product to your door. And I think it's making us much more aware of the sort of ecosystem that sits behind a product. So I wonder if actually we'll be even more aware of those things, kind of the other side of this pandemic as well, which for me is one of the, you know, good things to come out of this really strange time.
Yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed. So kind of onto talking about your career and like your job role and things like that. What have been some of the biggest challenges that you faced setting up Deakin and Blue and running it?
Good question. I mean, I think probably for me the biggest challenge has just been the shift in, you know, working as part of a huge team in big organizations, to being effectively a sort of one-man band where, you know, I'm the CEO, which sounds very impressive, but I'm also the chief intern, and, you know, so all of the jobs are mine. So I think that has been a real test of kind of survival as much as anything else. You know, the ability to just multitask and not have the kind of support network of a team around you. We're really lucky that we're at a size now where we have a team of brilliant freelancers who do look after little bits and pieces in the business, and they're the core team that sort of support me on a day-to-day basis. But for the first 18 months, it was just me, and I think that was a real challenge, actually. I mean, I'm sure you have experienced this as well, you know, when you're a one-man band and you're sort of trying to make it all work. So that was definitely kind of one of the hardest tests. And then I think on a more ongoing basis, I guess just being a small business, and, you know, money isn't endless, and you might have great visionary ideas for marketing campaigns or ideas on new products you want to release, and you constantly kind of have to weigh up the options and make choices about things that you're going to do. You know, you're either going to release this product or that product, and for example, we're often asked, can you make bigger sizes, or can you release this, or have you thought about a swimsuit with legs, or, you know, and it's all on the wish list, so we want to do it all, but there's kind of, you know, limited funding effectively, because we're still small and growing. So I think that can be a challenge as well to manage, because you want to do things well, but you also, you know, you're limited in that sense by your kind of financial envelope. So that's something to navigate too, I think.
Yeah, I think it's similar in all startups. You have that right at the start. So Andrea is our director, and she came on board in just after a year of us existing. And then Hannah's been on board for 4 years now, I think it is. But before that, the one-man band, you get a lot of skills really rapidly.
Yeah.
Learning curve. But that said, I also feel like, I don't know about you, but I feel like we're still on a massively steep learning curve, and I'm not sure it ever ends, really, right?
Definitely not. It definitely doesn't. Yeah, it's just the next challenge and the next big thing. I agree. Sometimes you have to force yourself, I think, and I'm sure this is true in any job. I'm sure it's not just true if you're an entrepreneur, but sometimes I think you really have to celebrate the wins when they happen, because it's so easy to kind of, great, that's done, on to the next big fire that you're trying to put out or whatever, and you have to really force yourself to sort of think, whoa, that was a huge thing, we should celebrate that briefly before we, you know, crack on. So yeah, it is a bit mad, definitely.
Yeah, we had our 5-year anniversary last year, and I think it got to just after it, and I was like, oh, that's happened.
Huge milestone, 5 years, incredible.
Yeah. So that should have been a big milestone, and we should have done like something for it. But it's so like fast paced all the time that it just kind of passed us by. So I guess massive for our 10-year.
yeah, fine.
Wow, to plan it. So what's your favorite part of your job?
I would say meeting customers actually is still one of my favorite things, whether that's at a pop-up or we run customer focus groups when we're developing new products to get customers to try the product on and give us feedback and tell us what they like and they don't. And I think because I set the business up with this real sort of trying to solve a problem, it's always amazing talking to customers, because it always reminds me of why I'm doing it and what we do it for and who's at the heart of everything we do. And it's really encouraging. And I think, you know, I've met some pretty amazing women since I started this business, customers, partners, and so on. And I think there's something really amazing about having someone say, you know, it's sad when someone says, you know, I would never wear a bikini, or I've felt crap in swimwear for 10 years, or whatever it is. And then you know, you help them find the right size, they put it on, they obviously feel amazing in it, they smile at themselves in the mirror, and that's just, you know, goosebumps every time for me, is kind of, you know, the product really working for someone and really helping that woman feel amazing in her body. That's, you know, why I set the business up, and it's still what motivates me today. So that is definitely, you know, yeah, that's definitely my favorite thing, without a doubt.
Yeah. And then to balance it out, in case there's people that are looking at going into a career in this, and they might think, oh, these guys have great jobs and everything's the time. What's your least favourite part of your job role?
I mean, my real trick here is to delegate and outsource things that I'm either not good at or don't like. And the business is at a stage where I've started doing that, but for a long time, I just found running the social media really overwhelming. I think initially when we set the business up, I loved it because it was the way that we communicated with customers. And then I just found it so consuming and demanding. So actually outsourcing that was just such a huge milestone for the business. And now we have Emily is our social media manager. She looks after it much better than I could anyway. And it was a real business win, sort of not looking after that anymore. That was, I think, one of my least favorite things, even though I actually like being on social media, and I now love following our content and interacting with it. But I think that I found just so overwhelming. Having to go on social media every day was a bit much for me. And then there are the boring bits, you know, the reconciling accounts, or, you know, all of those things that I still have to do. They're some of my least favourite things. But, you know, part and parcel of it. Chief intern has to do those things. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't have everything you love. We're kind of the same. Like, I used to really struggle with the social media, and then Hannah took over a couple of years ago, maybe 3, and she's done a great job. And then recently we've had Jazzy, one of our friends, helping out with our digital media and coming up with new campaigns, developing those campaigns. And that's been a godsend. Having that kind of support can really help, because it's a side of running a business that is so important, because especially in this day and age when like the digital world is so dominant, especially right now. But it's nice. Yeah, it's great having that help and having people that can do it a lot better than I can.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Playing to strengths.
Yeah, exactly. And what is so just going back actually to what you said at the beginning, because you said that you came up with Deakin and Blue when you were looking for a swimming costume for yourself, do you have, like, so you said that you tacked was it a sports bra to a swimming costume?
Yeah, it was.
Do you have like a textiles background then? Did you do like any kind of, did you do like a degree at uni that was related to that, or a business degree or anything like that?
No, and there's a reason I don't sew any of our products today. I'm kept firmly in the design and like HQ, not allowed anywhere near a sewing machine. No, I mean it was fit for purpose and it worked, and it sparked this whole journey, so I wouldn't change a thing. But no, I studied English at university. I love reading. Studied English at university, and then started my career in strategy consulting. So went into the city and worked kind of in quite a commercial role, advising big businesses on how to grow or change, or on purchasing other businesses, or how to enter new markets, that kind of thing. So very much a kind of business and strategy background rather than anything fashion, consumer, sustainable, etc. And I think that's probably been yeah, so quite a shift. So I don't, yeah. So in a way, it's, you know, it's lovely. There are bits of this job that I love because they, you know, they're things that I would never normally have had kind of the opportunity to do. But I think my business background actually is one of the reasons that D&B is doing relatively well. Is, you know, I kind of come with a commercial mindset, and so it's, so no, my background was not fashion or manufacturing. I wish it was. I'm embarrassed about my terrible sewing skills.
No, well, it's a testament to following your passion, and you can do it if you put your mind to it.
Yeah, I think that's true.
It's very cool. How did you come up with your, so I'm subscribed to your newsletter, and I saw in your newsletter you have a body story series that you're running, which I love. One of the things that I love about Deakin and Blue is that you guys use real life models, not airbrushed, and I love like that kind of aspect and body positivity that you have that goes with the brand. So how did you come up with the body stories sector on your newsletter? Because that I love. I really enjoy reading that.
Oh, thank you. We've had such a great response to them, and we've had really emotional responses actually on social media. I've received some really beautiful emails about that series, so I'm so glad that we decided to do it. I decided to, so for those that aren't aware, Body Stories is essentially where we talk to a D&B customer and ask her about her relationship with her body, and we ask her about what's influenced her relationship with her body, kind of some of the influences and big factors, what she loves about it today, and they're really kind of candid conversations, and I'm so lucky that the women we've spoken to have been so open. And they're really thought-provoking, and it's quite emotional often. Those conversations, I leave them often feeling quite emotional. But I wanted to do that because I had this hypothesis. I've always had a hypothesis that all women, men as well, but women more so, have kind of complicated relationships with their bodies. And I suppose at one end of the spectrum, you know, that could be quite extreme. That could be disordered eating, anorexia, that kind of thing. But actually, I think it is a full spectrum, and I think all women, or certainly in my experience, all women have a nuanced relationship with their body. You know, things they love about it, things they don't like about it so much. And I think since I've run D&B and I've spoken to women as they're trying things on in changing rooms, or I've heard them talk about their body as they're browsing a rail, I've realised quite how universal and pernicious kind of a poor relationship with your body can be. And it's been really eye-opening for me. And often, you know, I think we often look at someone and think, well, she would never think that about her body because she's so glamorous or confident or slim or gorgeous or whatever it is. And of course, you begin to peel the onion and realise that that woman is just like you, and she has all the same hang-ups that you do. And so I suppose with Body Stories, what I wanted to do was shine a kind of light on these stories and share them to kind of remind us that it's universal, and not to do that in a sort of depressing way, but to, I think if you hear somebody else's relationship with their body, the things they've been through, the way that they've learned to love bits of it, and the kind of tips and tricks they have for managing a healthy body relationship, I think it encourages you to think about your own and to be a bit kinder to yourself as well. And so that was the kind of genesis of the project. And we ran these stories alongside some customer photo shoots. So we took 10 customers, 5 in October last year and 5 in the very beginning of March, pre-lockdown this year. Took them out onto Brighton Beach and spent a day with them kind of talking about their bodies and then photographing them in D&B swimwear and having kind of candid chats. And we don't, as you said, we don't retouch those images. They're women from all walks of life, all ages, shapes, sizes, races. And, you know, these women are all beautiful in their own right. And so we sort of published these stories with the pictures of them. So it's been really thought-provoking and inspiring, even just, you know, writing them up, to be honest. But I'm glad you've enjoyed them, because it's been such a nice project for us, and it's something we'll keep doing, I think, to keep sort of, shining a light on the way that our body relationships with our bodies can evolve, and what you can do to try and feel more positively about your own.
Yeah, definitely. For those of you that haven't, people who are watching now that haven't subscribed, subscribe to Deakin and Blue's newsletter, and you'll get those. They're really, really cool stories to read. So yeah, check them out, definitely.
Thank you.
What does the future look like for Deakin and Blue?
Well, it's an interesting time to be thinking about the future right now, because you know, obviously there's a lot going on in the world that is affecting all sorts of plans. And I'd be lying if I said that, you know, it wasn't a slight disruption or a slight wobble to have, you know, a global pandemic that stopped anyone going on holiday or to their local pool. Not ideal for a swimwear brand. But I think the key thing for us is to just keep making brilliant products that help women feel great in their own skin, and that women love and want to wear. That will always underpin what we do. Before kind of Corona broke out, we were in discussion with a few exciting kind of retailers who we felt shared our sort of brand values about having some distribution channels through them sort of nationally and globally. So that's something that we'll continue to think about. And we're always thinking about new products that we want to be developing. So lots of our customers come to us and say things like, I love my bikini, when are you going to make a sports bra? Or, you know, have you thought about what I can put on after my swim? Because I love everything you make, and I think if you could make me the most comfortable t-shirt in the world, I'd wear it, or whatever it might be. So there's lots of things that we're kind of keen to do and explore. So I think the future's really bright for us, but we're taking it one step at a time. And as I say, the thing that will just always underpin what we do is, you know, making really good products that are really well developed, really well tested, that really solve problems for women. That's definitely what the future holds.
Yeah, that sounds really exciting. Yeah, definitely.
Good.
Because you guys have grown so quickly. Like so we met 2 or 3 years ago. You'd just started Deakin and Blue, so you guys are still a very young company.
Yeah.
But like you've had a lot of like media attention. I saw that you've been in quite a lot of like magazines, and you've been in the Times and the Independent, and all of those as like rated for sustainability and stuff. So you guys have been growing crazy fast as well. You must be just operating at full pelt all the time.
Yeah, it's definitely it's been a really exciting journey to be on, and we're really lucky, I think, because we've got this lovely sustainability agenda, because we're incredibly considered in the way that we think about women's bodies and how we talk about them. I think that has made us attractive to kind of various publications and so on. So that's been brilliant. And I think as a female founder, that you know, can make you an interesting company to go and chat to. But yeah, it's great. I mean, one of our big achievements is we've won the Independent's best sports swimwear 2 years on the trot now, which is just amazing, because, you know, 3 years ago we didn't exist. So that's really cool. So yeah, we're fast growing, but yeah, trying to have a good time whilst we do that.
Yeah, it's very, very impressive. Have you got any advice for anyone that's looking to get into a similar industry, whether that be, you know, sustainable swimwear, or even just their own kind of brand, their own clothing brand? Have you got any advice for anyone looking into that?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I I meet people at events and various networking things that I go to who are thinking about setting up their own business or launching a new brand or whatever it might be. The piece of advice I always give is to really think about why you're doing it, and what problem you're solving, or what's your real unique selling point that makes you different to anyone else out there. And I think, on the days that I've found hard, or if we've had bad news, or we've come up against an obstacle that I feel like I can't navigate, for me, it's going back to why I first set this business up, and wanting to solve that problem for women is enough of a driving force and motivator for me to want to kind of, power me through. And I think having a real sense of why you want to do something is more important in a way than the products you make or where you sell them or what they look like or anything else. So I think that's really, really important, being really clear on kind of your driving reason for existing, and then what that might look like. And then I think that really helps you to survive as well. It helps you work out how to communicate what you do. It helps you talk to your customers and so on. But I think that's really, really fundamental. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Also, I've got some quick fire questions. Fun questions that we ask all of our interviewees, our guests that come on. So there's 11 of them. So if you're good to start, we'll just whiz through them.
I'm ready.
Okay. Favorite ocean creature?
A turtle, definitely. Little turtles.
Favorite day of the week?
Oh, maybe a Thursday, I think. Thursdays. Sorry, I'll answer a bit more quickly. Sorry, too much thought.
No, it's all good. Plastic free or eco product that you can't live without?
My D&B swimsuit, 100%. Put it on at least twice a week when I'm not, when I'm allowed to go to a pool.
Yeah, same. Favorite beach in the world?
There's a cove in New Zealand called Waipu Cove, which is like a long, wide beach that is just really beautiful. And I had a really special time there once. So Waipu Cove, New Zealand. Yeah, very beautiful.
That's very specific.
Yeah.
Last song that you listened to?
I've been listening to James Blake's new song. I think it's called "You're So Precious," which my neighbour Murray recommended.
Nice. Dolphins or sharks?
Dolphins.
Favourite holiday?
I was very lucky on my honeymoon to go to the Maldives, and that was insane. And just incredible snorkeling every day, beautiful clear water. I mean, it was like I was in paradise. I thought I'd died and gone to heaven. It was perfection. Yeah.
Wow, nice. Would you rather be able to speak every language in the world or be able to speak to animals?
Speak every language in the world. Yeah, I'd like to be able to speak all languages. As a superpower, teleportation or breathing underwater? Oh, I'd really like both, but I have family in New Zealand, so I think teleportation would make my life really wonderful. Yeah. And what book would you take onto a desert island? So many. That's so hard to pick one. I would say maybe, because it's been on my to-read list for ages and I still haven't read it, Sapiens. And then maybe I would finally read it if I had it on a desert island. The kind of history of humanity. That I would take Sapiens and then I'd finally read it. Yeah. Yeah, that's been on my list as well for ages. I feel like lots of people's lists. Maybe Harry Potter. I mean, secretly, I'd probably take a Harry Potter. Yeah. And then the last question, first thing that you're going to do when you're out of lockdown? Oh, see my mum. Go and see my mum. Really missing her. Yeah. And I'm like 8 months pregnant, and so maybe show her my baby, like, yeah. Yeah, so see my mum, 100%.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thanks. Thanks.
So that's all the questions that we have. Do you have anything that you want to say to the audience, or any like things that you've got going on with Deakin and Blue at the moment that you want to make people aware of?
Well, we're obviously running a campaign with you guys this week where you can win a £100 gift card for D&B, and there's a post on our social about that, so go and find that if you're interested in winning a free D&B swimsuit effectively. And just to say, we've talked about some of the things that we do, the kind of stories that we tell, the sort of stories that we tell, so please do follow us on social media and sign up to our newsletter and so on if that appeals. And otherwise, if there's any questions about the brand, the product, what we make, how we make it, we're always all ears to kind of listening to those. I personally read every message that comes in, so definitely please get in touch. Yeah, and just thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, no worries. For everyone that's watching, yeah, as Rosie said, we've got the giveaway that's running this week, so you can find the rules of entry for that on both our socials, so you can check them out. If you tuned in halfway through this and you are bummed out that you didn't get to see the rest, then this will actually be available on our YouTube afterwards as well. So the link to our Q&A series is in the link in our bio, so you can also watch the previous episodes and previous guests that we've had on there as well. I think that's it. In terms of what we've talked about, with like advice and brands and different bits and bobs that we've mentioned, I'll put some of them, if you want to send over those links that you were talking about, I'll check all of that into some stories on our Instagram, so you guys can check that out there as well if you want those links, and we'll try and find the accounts for each of those brands as well, so you can check them out and contact them directly. And yeah, I think that's about it. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else I need to mention. Oh yeah, with the giveaway that we're running this week, it will end. So just check that out to get your chance at winning a Deakin and Blue £100 voucher for a Deakin and Blue costume. And we'll also be running giveaways for the next couple of months with our favourite eco-conscious brands. So keep your eyes peeled in terms of different brands and stuff that we'll be working with. Each of them will have like a different angle. So Deakin and Blue is our swimming costume brand. We had Ocean Refresh last week for our flip-flop brand, and every single one of them will have a really amazing policy that we'll shout about. So yeah, we've got some really cool brands lined up, so stay tuned for that. But thank you very much for joining us, Rosie.
Pleasure. Thanks really for having me. So nice to chat to you.
Yeah, lovely to chat to you too. And as Rosie said, you can contact Love the Oceans or Deakin and Blue with any questions that you've got about this, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. And you can also comment on the posts that we have on our feed if you've got any questions, and we'll do our best to answer them there as well. Cool. Thanks for joining us, Rosie. Have a great evening.
And you take care. Bye.
Yeah, you too. Ciao.